What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the DFS Dose YouTube channel. My name is Joey, and if you're new here, first of all, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss another video. That's first and foremost. But in this video today, I will be going position by position, talking about some of my favorite GPP plays and stacks for NFL Week 15 on DraftKings. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you like this style of content. You could join our Discord for free, which is linked down below in the description. And as always, you can check out the DFS Dose podcast, which releases every single Thursday and Monday, breaking down and reviewing the DraftKings main slates and our results from the week. Without further ado, let's take a look at this ugly Week 15 main slate and talk about it from a GPP perspective. All right, so this Week 15 main slate, it's not a good one. A lot of ugly games. We have 7 games that have a total below 45 points on this 11-game slate. Only one game that has a relatively decent total, and that is the Arizona and Detroit game, which has a total of 47.5 as it stands right now. But that's kind of being pushed up by the Arizona Cardinals team total, which is about 30 points right now, by far the highest on the slate. So a lot of ugly games. I will not be watching football this weekend, but I will be playing DraftKings. There are GPPs and a bunch of money to be won. So let's take a look at the quarterback position for tournaments this week. I think quarterback is the most interesting position on the week just because we have a lot of injury situations that we're going to have to monitor, which could open up a bunch of value at the quarterback position. As you can see right on the screen, 5 quarterbacks are listed as questionable just on this first front page of quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Rodgers, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. Out of these 5 quarterbacks, I think Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrow are locks to play. I think Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts are probably more questionable to doubtful to play this week, which would open up Tyler Huntley and Gardner Minshew, who are both a little bit above 5K. And then obviously you have Kyler, who's 7,900, Stafford 7K, Dak 6,500, and some of these other guys right here. And just from an ownership perspective, I would assume that a lot of the ownership is probably going to fall on Tua this week at 5,700. He's a paydown quarterback. This is a slate where there's not a ton of value to be had. So I think we could see Tua around 14 to 15% in tournaments. And at that ownership percentage, I probably would stay away just because the upside with Tua is so low. As you can see right here, 5 straight games with less than 19 DraftKings points, and the 28 balls are definitely in the range of outcomes for Tua. But this is a spot where the Dolphins should be able to easily control the game against a withered New York Jets team who just don't have any talent on offense right now. Elijah Moore's on IR, Corey Davis is hurt, Michael Carter is returning from IR, and Tevin Coleman is still hurt, and it's just brutal right now. And then you throw in the fact that Zach Wilson is just the worst quarterback in the NFL, and the Jets just have no chance in this spot. So I don't mind Tua, but at that ownership level, I probably won't have much interest. Gardner Minshew and Huntley are okay in GPPs. I probably wouldn't go there. You know, we're not getting Minshew at 4K like we did in week 13, where, you know, 18 at 4K is a complete smash. But if he gets you 18 to 20 at 5,200, it's not winning you a GPP. So for this week specifically, I will be just looking to pay up at quarterback and get those ceiling games from a Kyler, from a Matt Stafford. And then obviously there are some great stacking partners with those quarterbacks and Josh Allen as well. Rodgers is definitely interesting at 7,500. We know where the ball is going in that Packers offense. And I just saw a tweet that said, you know, the Ravens run cover 0 and cover 1 at one of the highest rates in the NFL. and Rodgers just absolutely decimates teams when they run cover 0 or cover 1. So at 7,500, that's pretty interesting. You could stack Rodgers with Devontae Adams and MVS, who is the deep threat there. So just in terms of strategy and picks, I think Kyler and Stafford are my favorite GPP quarterbacks, and I think this is a week where you take the guaranteed points at quarterback, you don't get too cute, you pay up, and you move on from there. At the running back position, as you could see on the screen, I think this range is going to be the more popular range, and god damn, this week is brutal. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 running backs, 11, 12, just all right here that are questionable or have COVID. So this is going to be a fun and interesting week. Obviously, tune into the Saturday night live stream on this same YouTube channel if you want to hear our updated thoughts and opinions on all of these players when we should have the information on whether or not they are going to play. But as it stands right now, I think that Aaron Jones, Saquon, and Javonte and Melvin Gordon are more probable than questionable at this point. I think DeAndre Swift is most likely going to be out. I think Eli Mitchell has a good chance to return, but could definitely be held out if he can't get through concussion protocol. Darrell Henderson, we're going to have to wait and see on that. He was placed on the COVID list on Saturday, and you know, usually it takes a week to 10 days to get cleared, and I would assume he gets cleared by Saturday, and he should be good to go for this game. But if not, you know, we have Sony Michel, who's 5,800. I think he'll be one of the best running back plays on the board. Gibson, you know, he's fine, 6K. But a lot of injury news, a lot of stuff might open up, especially with the Miami backfield. You have Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed, you have Phillip Lindsay all on the COVID list. That would leave Duke Johnson as the guy there. He's 4K. Don't feel like going through that. James Conner and Chase Edmonds are hurt right now. Chase Edmonds could easily come off IR, but in this spot against Detroit, I definitely think that they should hold out both of those guys. Like, even if I want them for fantasy, like from an NFL perspective, it would make complete sense to just run Eno Benjamin in this spot. He's 4,400. That would be pretty interesting against Detroit. But just in terms of GPPs, man, I mean, we got to wait for these injury news. A lot of stuff is going to change probably from when this video drops. And as it stands right now, I think my favorite GPP play from, you know, the guys that we know are going to play is probably Eli Mitchell. If he goes 6,200, it's a great spot for him. He's going to be a little chalky at home against Atlanta. They just bleed fantasy points to opposing players. You know, they're giving up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing running backs on DraftKings. DeAndre Swift, I don't think he's going to play. I already said that. That kind of would put Jamal Williams in play, who's 5,300. That would be interesting. Pretty low upside. But if I'm just picking a running back to play this week as part of, you know, some mini correlations and mini stacks, I think it would be Dante Foreman at 5,200. I think he's one of my favorite GPP plays this week going up against Pittsburgh. We just saw them get absolutely gashed by the Minnesota Vikings, and they've been getting gashed on the ground all year, and we know that Dante Foreman is the preferred early down grinder for the Titans, and he's going to cede some work to Hilliard and Jeremy McNichols, which is just truly unfortunate. But it's a good spot for Tennessee's run game in a game where they're probably going to want to establish the run, and, you know, he has good goal line equity, touchdown equity as well. So at 5,200, he's one of my favorite GPP plays on the slate. Other than that, man, like I said, you're just going to have to tune into the Saturday night live stream. There are just way too many questionable guys right now. But as it stands, I'll just say the best plays are Sony, Gibson. Mixon is pretty solid. Zeke is dust. Other than that, I don't know, man. Running back is tough this week. All right, moving on to the wide receiver position. This is where I'm going to make a focus on stacking some of the quarterbacks that I like. So I mentioned Stafford and Kyler are two of my favorites, and I think the Rams double stack is one of my favorite stacks on the board this week with Kupp, Van, and Stafford. As you can see right here, pretty expensive double stack, and the bringbacks are pretty simple with Lockett and Metcalf. As you can see, $6,200 for Metcalf. Lockett is $7K, so you're paying a little bit more for Tyler Lockett, but he's been better over the course of the last month. We'll have to wait and see if Metcalf is able to go. He missed practice today with a foot injury, so that's some news to monitor, but I think he should be good to go. And this is my favorite double stack just because we know the upside and the ceiling that the Stafford doubles have. And on a week like this where all of the games are shitty and all of the stacks are pretty shitty as well, I'm just taking the guaranteed points and the guaranteed upside and the guaranteed ceiling with Stafford and Kupp and Van Jefferson with no OBJ. Like, it's going to be a very condensed target share in LA, and we know where the ball goes on the Seattle side as well, DK and Tyler Lockett. So those are four of my favorite GPP wide receivers this week. If we're talking about a couple more, I definitely love Davante Adams. Mentioned that the Ravens run cover 0, cover 1 at one of the highest rates. Should be a great matchup for Davante with no Marlon Humphrey, who was out for the year for the Ravens. Rodgers is 7,500, so that's a pretty good stack as well. And then if we're just looking in the 7K range, I think these are the leverage plays: Deontay Johnson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. Some of them might come with a little bit of ownership, specifically Deontay. I think he could get a little chalky, but I would expect Diggs to be the chalk. But straight up, I prefer Deontay Johnson over Diggs right now. Deontay Johnson's target share is just crazy high. He's a lock for 10-plus targets every single week, and it's a great matchup going up against this pass funnel in Tennessee. They're one of the worst defenses in terms of fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers, and I want all of the Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool this week, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility of running a Ben Roethlisberger double stack this week. He's 5,600, Claypool's 5,900, and Deontay is 7,500, so it's one of those weeks where an ugly Big Ben stack might be able to get the job done, honestly. If I'm moving down at the wide receiver position, some other wide receivers that I love this week, Christian Kirk is definitely my favorite long shot of the week, 5,300. We'll have to wait and see on the ownership on him, but pairs well with Kyler. He's the deep threat. No DeAndre Hopkins, who is out for the rest of the regular season. So I love Kirk. AJ Green is fine. He's 4,900. I have mentioned Claypool. He's one of my favorites. DK is one of my favorites. I love Ayuk. The Cowboys wide receivers are pretty great. And other than that, I'm probably just going to try and stay above 5K when I'm picking wide receivers and just, pay down at tight end, pay down at defense, try and save some salary there. There aren't many guys that I would consider in this cheap range. Gabe Davis is interesting. He's 3,700. Laquan Treadwell is dirt cheap, 3,300 still. Sterling Shepard and Cole Beasley are both interesting as well. But other than that, I really have no interest in these guys. Besides MVS. MVS is probably my favorite GPP receiver, 5K and under, and he definitely has the ceiling to hit in this spot. Especially against the Ravens, who are giving up the second most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks. And all it takes is, one of these stat lines, 4 for 123 and 1, or, 5 for 150 and 1. And, MVS is smashing. So his ceiling is probably the highest out of any player, 5K and under. And I want to target ceiling in these lottery style tournaments. So love MVS, but my favorite tournament wide receivers this week would be CeeDee Lamb, Christian Kirk, Cooper Kupp, Davante Adams, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool. At the tight end position, it's ugly as usual. I'm never playing a tight end at 7,500 on DraftKings. Just never happening. I don't care. He can shove another 40-point game down my throat. That's fine with me. I'll take the L on that if it doesn't work out, but just never doing that. Mark Andrews, you're getting a little bit of discount for the tight end 1 on the season, but Obviously, some quarterback concerns if Huntley gets in there, but we saw last week, like, Mark Andrews can still have a big day with Tyler Huntley as his quarterback. 11 for 115 in one, and as one of the primary pass catchers on the Ravens, I think Andrews is definitely in play, but he's definitely not my favorite tight end play. I do think for tournaments and GPP specifically, you're going to have to pay up a little bit just because this range at the bottom is so goddamn thin. And we're kind of seeing it over the last couple of weeks or so that these cheap tight ends just aren't winning tournaments right now. So I want to stay away from like RSJ and, Albert O and James O'Shaughnessy and Evan Ingram in GPPs. Unless you really need to save the salary, then obviously I prefer RSJ. He's in the nut spot this week. Taylor Heineke did get hurt in that game, but he practiced in full today, so he should be good to go. And at 3,400, he's just going to play every snap and, probably get you 8 to 10 minimum. And if he gets you 15 at 3,400, that's a GPP winner. But I like getting up to this range of Schultz, Gesicki, Knox. I think they're all in pretty decent spots, especially Mike Gesicki. He's 5K. We know what he's capable of. He's capable of putting up, 20-plus point games. It's a great spot against the Jets. You just want to play any player you can against the Jets. Oh, I forgot to mention Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle at wide receiver is one of my favorite tournament wide receiver plays as well. And you could definitely run a Tua double with Tua, Gesicki, and Jalen Waddle if we get Gesicki and Waddle at lower ownership. That definitely makes a ton of sense. So I love Gesicki this week. Knox is interesting. Schultz is definitely interesting. A lot of mouths to feed in that Cowboys offense, though. So I would only play him in DAC teams. And then this bottom tier, Higbee, Fant, Freiermuth is definitely interesting. I think my favorite would be Higbee with no OBJ there. Henderson still on the COVID list. I think you're going to get 5 to 7 targets from Higbee. And if you get 5 targets and, 10 points at 4K, like that's fine. And I think he definitely has the upside for more. You kind of just need him to score a touchdown. And those have definitely been hard to come by with Cooper Kupp just lighting up the NFL, the best wide receiver in the league this year. I'm fine playing Higbee in Stafford doubles. I definitely prefer going the Van and Kupp route with Higbee, with Stafford though. But I think it's totally fine. And really, just at tight end, I'm just pairing tight ends with, the quarterback that I play. It's that simple, or the bring back in the stack that I play, and just leaving it at that. That's what I think you should be doing ultimately. Defense, you just play whatever defense is in chalk and, is in probably a good spot. Bills look good. 49ers look good. Packers look good. But just play whatever defense. It really doesn't matter. But that is going to be it. If you guys enjoyed the video, like I said at the top, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. It means a lot. And I will catch you guys next week.